People are being screwed, and it has to do with foreign shrimp. I'll put our producers, our fisherwomen and fishermen up against any in the world. I mean, our shrimp and our crawfish and our oysters, they're the best in the world. But they can't compete against imported shrimp, for example, when other countries are cheating. I'm talking about countries like China and Indonesia and India, and there's some others. What happens in those countries, they produce an inferior product. The government subsidizes the fishermen. They shoot the shrimp chock full of antibiotics, which are bad for you, and then they dump the product on the world market at subsidized prices. And we can't compete with that. That's neither free trade nor fair trade. And I've written President Trump a letter about this problem. I'm going to be speaking with President Trump and Mr. Lighthouser, the trade representative of the United States of America, and Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross. One possibility is tariffs. Another possibility is to put quotas on the imported shrimp. Another possibility, which has been raised, and I'm going to introduce a bill next week, is to start implementing an inspection fee on foreign shrimp. The foreign shrimp that's coming in to America is not being inspected, and some of it is dangerous, and it's unsafe, aside from the fact that it's unfairly putting my people out of business. And those are a few things we're going to be working on. It's going to be a tough fight, but we won't win every fight, but by God, I'll refuse to be beaten. But my people are being screwed here, and I believe in trade. I believe in free trade. But when another country cheats, that's neither free trade nor fair trade. When I ran for this job, I ran on a ticket with Donald John Trump. And I've talked with him about it before. I'll tell you what I was told when I went all across Louisiana. People would stop me and they'd say, "Kennedy, let me tell you what the problem is. Here's the problem. I look around," these fellow citizens of ours would tell me, "I look around and I see, here's what I see. I see too many undeserving people at the top getting bailouts. And I see too many undeserving people at the bottom getting handouts. And I'm in the middle and I get stuck with the bill. And I can't pay it anymore because my health insurance has gone up, my kids' tuition has gone up, my taxes have gone up, but I tell you what hadn't gone up, my income. And these are the people that make our country great. These are the people who get up every day and they go to work and they obey their law and they try to pay their taxes and they try to teach their kids morals. And I talked frankly about that in my campaign. And I think that's part of the reason I got elected. And I think that's part of the reason President Trump got elected. Yes. And we're trying to do something about it. We hadn't solved all the problems, but we made progress in 17 months. We've got the best economy that we've had in 30 years because we passed the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. We've rolled back so many rules and regulations to get government off the backs of people, I've lost count at the number. We put Neil Gorsuch on the United States Supreme Court, and we're confirming new conservative judges every day. The week before last, we passed a new bill to help our veterans with their health care. We owe our veterans everything. But we still got problems, and I know that. Seafood's good for you. I don't need to tell you that. It's healthy, and it tastes good. And that's one of the joys in our life. That's one of the gifts that God gave us, is the joy of good eating. And we produce the best shrimp and the best oysters and the best crawfish of anybody in the entire world. I'll tell you what else is good for you. And just hear me out on this. Trade. Trade makes us richer. Trade makes the world smaller. Trade, if you're talking to somebody, it's hard to fight them. Makes the world more peaceful. I believe in trade. Every one of you in this room, I know, believes in free trade. But trade can't be free if it's not fair. And let me tell you the problem. I'm not saying we're perfect, but we try to follow the rules. But some countries cheat. Now, we let China into the World Trade Organization on January 1, 2001. On January 2, 2001, they started cheating. And they're not the only country. We've got a lot of countries that subsidize their seafood industry illegally. The government gives them subsidies. And they're able to dump that product. It's an inferior product, but I'll come back to that. They dump that product on the world market. That's not a level playing field, folks. That's not that's not free trade. That's not fair trade. Number two, a lot of the product, a lot of the shrimp and the other seafood that comes into our country is dangerous. It's chock full of antibiotics. Now, eating a shrimp with antibiotics in it isn't going to kill you the first time you do it. But it's going to kill you if you keep doing it, because your body builds up a resistance to antibiotics. And if you get an infection and you go to your doctor, no antibiotics work. A lot of countries, I don't mean just to pick on China. We've had problems with Vietnam. We've had problems with Malaysia. We've had problems with India. We've had problems with Mexico. I'm not saying a single bad thing about the people of those countries, because most of these decisions are made by the leadership. But they cheat. And we've got to stop them from cheating. Now, I've written the president a letter, and I'm talking to his trade folks. I wanted to start at the top. And said, look, Mr. President, I agree with you about free trade, but I agree with you about fair trade. And we need to sit down and talk and find out what we can do to help my shrimpers and help my other folks in agriculture and aquaculture, and we're doing that. I came today to mostly listen. A smart person told me one time, it was probably a lady, who said, if you open your ears and shut your mouth, you'll learn something. So I just want to tell you, number one, I hear you. Number two, nobody will fight for our shrimpers more than me in Washington, D.C. That's what you sent me there to do, and by God, that's what I'm going to do. And my last point, let's put our problems aside for a second. God has blessed Louisiana, and I think having blessed us once, God blessed us a second time. I know we got problems, but you think about it. We're located at the top of the Gulf Coast. We're in the middle of the Gulf South. We straddle one of the mightiest rivers in the entire world. We got more oil and gas than most nations. We are experts in things like agriculture and aquaculture and shipbuilding and petrochemical manufacturing and oil and gas exploration and timber production and healthcare and food, and I could keep going. And the people, I've never met people like the people in my state. They're hardworking, they're God-fearing, and they're fun-loving. You know, we're right next door to Texas. I've gotten to know my two colleagues from Texas, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator John Cornyn. I tell them all the time, you know, Texas is a great state, man. Y'all do great things. I'm happy for you. You're 5.5 times bigger than Louisiana. But don't ever forget this. We're 10.5 times more interesting than you are. And let me say it again. Thank you for the honor of representing you in Washington, D.C. Let me say it again. Nobody will fight harder for our shrimp women and shrimp men in Washington, D.C. It's not a perfect world. We won't win every fight, but by God, we ought to refuse to be beat. Thank you.
Rocky DeCero Seafood in Uris, Louisiana. Mr. Kennedy, AC was talking about 15% decrease in 2014. Prices went out the roof. You mentioned free trade, fair trade. Mm-hmm. If you put tariffs in all these countries, they're going to find a way to zigzag, reroute it, find a country who is not getting tariffs put on. The hell with all that. Just put a quota on how much can come into this country per year. If we caught, I'm going to use even numbers, if we caught 100 million pounds of shrimp in 2017, in 2018, only 100 million pounds can come into this country from imports. That would cause the price to go out the roof. Then we could do something. Tariffs, nobody's ever going to get that formula correct. But we got to get an eye for an eye, a pound for a pound. I think that would work.
Barry Rogers from Homer Fish out of Terrebonne Parish. Thank all of you important people for coming. This is great. All the fishermen, never seen this in my life. Thank y'all for coming. You name me one industry, one, that can survive what we just survived this last month. We started out May the 1st, 90 cents. We then went down to 30 cents. You get us in front of Donald Trump and tell us what industry in this country has lost 2/3 of their profit in 30 days and cannot ask for help. We have Steve Calise, the 4th most powerful man in the state of Louisiana, plus all you guys. Billy Nungesser, you're an awesome man. Mr. Kennedy, first time I ever met you. Thank you for coming, all you other guys. Steve Scalise, can't tell me can't get a meeting with us in Washington, D.C. We have till November. We have control of the House, we have control of the Senate. We have the most powerful president I've ever seen in my life. Why can't this man do something for us? We need to be face to face with Donald Trump. He won Louisiana by the biggest margin out of all 50 states. This man can do something for us, and I know he will. Please, I'm begging you, for me and all these fishermen in this building, please get us a meeting with Donald Trump. Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy, gentlemen, I might be a little nervous up here. My name is Lanvin LeBlanc. I've been shrimping all my life. I'll be 61 years old. Had a 90-foot goal for 30-something years, and I'm in Lafitte skiff now. Couldn't make it with the price of fuel and all the price of shrimp. But I'm gonna go back a little bit. When Governor Blanco's in there, I sat on this board of directors, and there are quite a few men in here, and Ms. Jane and all of them. We went to Baton Rouge. I met with Ms. Blanco's office. They had 40, 50 people here. I had 2 55-gallon plastic bags full of imported, it was all kilo pack boxes. Health and hospitals, it was all there, Mr. Kennedy. Wildlife fisheries, head of wildlife fisheries, and they didn't know I had these bags. And these shrimp was being put, defrosted, being reboxed, and put in Louisiana boxes. As we were in that meeting, my dad used to own LeBlanc Seafood. The people that bought it, the whole floor, big as this building here, was full of them vats that hold 700 pounds. We could have all got in the car, and a blind man could have seen what was happening. Mrs. Blanco said everything would be fine, taken care of. All 40, we gave depositions. They called it flipping boxes. It was imported shrimp being put in Louisiana boxes. Everybody turned a blind eye to the fishermen, so a deaf ear. Same thing with Governor Jindal. We met in the mansion with him. I gave him myself the names of who was doing this. Gave depositions again. All thrown back in our face, sir. You look at the people in this building here, and they're very, very hard-working people. They don't ask for anything. They don't ask for food stamps. We work for it. When we leave from home, all of them, everybody in here, nobody knows what your catch is going to be. But we all did this all our life, so we know that when we leave this dock, we got to come in with some kind of profit. And what's going on this year, sir? There's 40 cents, 50 cents. It was in there when Jindal was in there. 16.20 right now is $1.70, $1.80 or whatever. How can a man make it?
What countries are the biggest problem?
China, Indonesia, they all are.
India?
They put a tariff on some of these imports, okay?
But they just go around the tariffs. They
But
don't
why?
touch it.
Mr. Kennedy, we need these people that's buying these shrimp right now from us. We need that, you know what I'm talking about? We can't do without that. The big brokers, whatever, that's buying the shrimp, we need that. We need somebody to take our seafood products because it's a perishable product, you know, it's not gonna last long. And it's just a disarray. How can they do this? I wasn't raised that way. It would be hard for me if I was a shrimp buyer right out of man for 40 cents a pound shrimp right now. Where can anybody go buy a shrimp for 40 cents a pound? So somebody's making, look, I understand, we all understand, they putting the money out. But gosh, you gotta give us a fair trade on this, you know what I'm talking about? What's happening now, Mr. Kennedy? If I go out on a boat right now, I got a 47-foot skiff, I'll run it by myself. I'll go up to $2,000, $2,500 expense. I'll go out, okay, just say I catch $5,000 worth of shrimp. It seems like a lot, cost me $2,500 to leave the wharf. I gotta put $2,500 more back in that boat to go back on the next trip, you know. It doesn't leave no room for your breakdowns or anything like that, you know what I'm talking about? And if you look at the prices right now, it's not the docks that's buying that shrimp from us. There's some man or some people that's controlling this price. I'm 61 years old and no one could ever answer us. And I think all these fishermen in this place deserves a fair answer. Who's setting these prices to this low? Who is? We all deserve it. We work hard enough. We work hard enough. We deserve it. He's from that's a seafood parish down there, you know. Mr. Carney, he knows that. That's born and bred seafood. All we ask is for a fair trade, man. And we don't need it yesterday. We need it, tomorrow. We needed it yesterday. So, whatever y'all can do, man, help us, man. I've been doing this all my life, and I know all these fishermen in here. You got some of the top fishermen in this world right now, in this place. They all are top fishermen, man. And they don't ask for nothing from the government. We don't ask for anything like that. But damn, give us something right, you know what I'm talking about? Be fair. My father taught us to be fair, and I guess I'll die like that, but damn, I couldn't get somebody in the face that had to write him out a check for 40 cents a pound shrimp if I was in that part of the business. I thank y'all, thank all of y'all for coming.
Hello, my name is Kendra O'Brien from Empire, Louisiana. I'll ask y'all, when y'all go into a restaurant, you see up there, you label what you go to buy, right? What's down the bottom? The ingredients is ingredients on every can, every package when you go into a supermarket, right? Why in the world, when these people are bringing this stuff into our country, the little bitty print of what's in their shrimp? I think we should have big print. I'm gonna tell you something, you give me big print of what they put in these decorative shrimp compared to fresh Louisiana shrimp, what the world you gonna buy? I'm gonna buy the fresh shrimp, right? And I think that's what y'all need to talk about. Y'all need to get this stuff labeled to what is in that shrimp and what is going to happen to your bodies because they're not labeling it right. There's enough of traffic, don't bring it in now. Fine then. But when you're giving this crap into this country, I mean, that's wrong. You're destroying our health by letting this crap into this country.
Thank y'all, Mr. Kennedy, Bill. All this talk about imported shrimp is a real problem, but that is the ace in their pockets, the processors. I'm pointing my finger directly at the processors because there's no way that this price could be this low based strictly on imports. Somebody is price fixing, okay? Now, We buy electricity from the power company. You got your light bill comes in the mail, they can charge you whatever you want. If there was not legislation in place to protect you from that, your light bill would be $1,000 a month. Now, if I got to sell my shrimp to the dock, who is protecting me from being gouged and stolen from? Who is holding these people accountable? Who is making them open their books and show us what are you paying and what are you selling it for? And not only that, but we have income tax revenue issues. I paid $5,000 in state tax last year before. This year I paid $300. State just lost a lot of money on me, okay? You add up all the revenue the state lost over us and go to that processor and see if he made the difference up in what his taxes were. So, state needs money, hey, give it to us and we're gonna spend it and pay our taxes. But somebody's gotta be accountable for who is setting these prices. And that's the problem. Imports are a big issue, but there's a bigger problem. Thank you.
My name is John Brown, 35-year fisherman. Hey, we need the imports, but we need to make sure the imports go to the fishermen. The imports last time, fishermen got nothing. The processors wound up with all the tariffs that come from the imports. We got absolutely nothing. When I tell you nothing, $3, $5, $6, that's not right. The processors are not hurting. They're the one buying the imports. We are the ones hurting. And the imports is one thing. If we would get a price for our shrimp, we wouldn't need tariffs. We just need a price for our shrimp where we can make a fair, honest living. That's all we asking for.
My name's Brian Ebard. I'm from Golden Meadow, Louisiana. In 1987, I sold 40/50s for $1.40 a pound. The price now for 40/50s is 90 cents a pound. Where's my cost of living increase? The farmers, the people that plant a crop, they plant a crop, they plant it there. They come back, they look, their crop is there. If they get some damage, a natural disaster, they get paid for it. We gotta look for our crop. Our crop moves around. We never get subsidized. The third thing I'm gonna ask, there's a hurricane that comes, people wanna raise prices on gasoline or at the grocery store, they call it price gouging. It gets investigated. When's this gonna get investigated? That's all I have.
Mr. Kennedy, we have a price that, these processors are paying us. I've looked at a price list through different states, and when we compare, Rouse's has 150 count to 200 count peeled shrimp. They're selling for $4.69 a pound. These shrimp, on an average, let's say we get a 120 count shrimp, they give us 15 to 20 cents a pound at the dock. There's a big profit margin being made by these processors. And they're setting these prices on what they're paying us. If you go around, we look at some of these prices I've looked at, and I have in my phone, I can show you. $29.99 a pound for 1620s in other states. Somewhere the money is disappearing. These processors are making all this money and they're cutting the shrimpers out. We have higher fuel costs. Since the season is open, I don't know how many of y'all know this, but the fuel costs went up probably about 45 to 50 cents a gallon. I know just on Memorial Day it jumped up 20 cents. They continue to raise our fuel prices and drop the price of the shrimp. The processors, the group of processors, we've noticed as an association, these processors, when one drops, everybody drops their price. It's, they're fixing the price to where everybody is controlling that price. And we cannot fight this. I mean, these guys have their market that they want to set, and they're telling us what we can do. And without legislation to control this, we're gonna fight a never-ending battle. We're just gonna lose. And everybody will be put out of work. And the only way that's gonna happen is for the government to step in and say, hey, we have to say, we gotta legislate how much shrimp comes into this country, how much we produce. This year, we've caught so much shrimp that they're turning down shrimp. They're refusing to buy some of our shrimp. There's docks that are only buying 200 boxes a day, the processors. There's other docks that are refusing to buy a certain size shrimp. Why are we out working if they're not gonna buy our shrimp even once we catch them? That's what I have questions about.
How you doing, Mr. City? I've been fishing for a long time. I'm one of them old coonies from down the bayou. Okay? Excuse my language, but that's the way we was raised and born. We fished all our lives, all these fishermen. And let me tell you, I've seen a lot of them come and a lot of them go. But one thing I'm up here to say, I heard on Fox News when President Trump said on Fox News that the best shrimp he ever ate was the Gulf of Mexico shrimp. We're not in China. We're not in China. We're in Louisiana. So if he likes the shrimp, how about you talk to him to come and they're like he did for the coal miners. We're not no coal miners, we're shrimpers. I appreciate him coming down here, and I'm sure they would too, because we voted for him. One thing, Mr. City, I was proud when you got elected. My wife, I jumped in front of the TV, I was jumping up and down. She said, what's the matter, you going crazy? I said, no sir, no. I said, he got elected. He was our treasurer and he did a good job. That man rolled up his sleeve and kept up Louisiana. But I'm asking you tonight, roll up your sleeve one more time. For the people of Louisiana, that's all we ask. And get us a price. We can't live in that. Thank you, Mr. City. God bless you all.
Mr. Kennedy, I'm from Lafitte, Louisiana. A lot of people in this room knows me. I want to know how we get on a 200 box per dock limit. When the processor that I sell to, I heard he's got federal contracts and he buys shrimp to peel. And he's going around the state and shutting all the damn peeling machines down because he's getting these imports and has them peeled already. That's why everybody in this room is suffering. Am I right, Billy? You go to the dock and you could catch all the shrimp you want, and then you got to come in because they're only buying 200 boxes. I got 4 guys right here can catch 400 boxes in 2 days, man. I mean, this is ridiculous. And I'm hearing this man is selling shrimp to the federal government. Why are we letting processors that we can sell shrimp to the federal government buy imports? What's wrong with this country? Are we all getting communists too? It seems like it. But I just can't figure that out. 200 boxes, I mean, come on, man. It's just ridiculous. Okay, and hello, Mr. Billy, and thank you for being there. Thank you.
I was parish president of Plaquemines then, and we came home from Washington many times with a lot of hope that something was going to change, and it didn't. And so, since I've left that office and you were kind enough to give me an opportunity to be your lieutenant governor, we started talking about a new approach, because obviously the old way didn't work. And we know the lobbyists and we know all the powers against stopping the imports and stopping things as usual, and we don't have the lobbying efforts that a lot of other industries and a lot of people that are pushing the imports do. So thanks to the help of AC and many of you in this room, over the last 2 years you have educated me, and we have gathered a lot of information, and we have embarked on a new approach. And I had Mr. Senator, sent a letter to the President and asked him, and copied all of our congressmen and senators, and asked him, and we are requesting immediately to impose a safety fee on every pound of imported seafood of 10 cents and inspect more seafood. And we are assured if we do that, much of that seafood will be rejected, which will cut down on the imports. As a matter of fact, even the stuff we reject gets repackaged and slips back in the back door. But we know a tariff is very difficult, import-exports. But if you look at some of the articles that AC has provided to me, and the senator mentioned it, the antibiotics, what they grow this stuff in, they need to treat it with antibiotics, and you know that to kill the garbage they're growing it in. But if you eat Chinese shrimp for 5 to 10 years, and then you go to your doctor, and he gives you some antibiotics for your illness, and they don't work as well, you've grown immune to the antibiotics that you got from the imported shrimp. And it's in article after article, this one article here, 8 out of 8 batches were rejected because of the levels of the banned antibiotics that were found in the shrimp. Now we inspected less than 10%. Remember the Chinese drywall made us sick? But we eat the shrimp. So we feel our only approach to really change this is to scare the hell out of people all over this country in what they're putting in their mouth. And so besides the letter at the Grand Isle Council meeting for the Grand Isle Fishing Rodeo, by the way, I'm the president, come down and have a good time. May I? Well, we'll plug for you. We will be asking the Jefferson Parish Council to pass a resolution demanding that our legislators in Washington and that our federal government impose this inspection fee. And after Jefferson Parish Council passes it, the largest parish in the state, we will get it passed by every council government in the state. And in about 3 weeks, I have invited all the lieutenant governors to New Orleans to eat some Louisiana shrimp. And I will beg them to go home and help me improve the safety of seafood in the whole country by asking their local governments up the chain of command and really get some teeth in. Because let's face it, there's a lot of fights in Washington. If every parish in this state supports it, we are speaking with one voice as Louisianans. And look, your voice has been loud. But we haven't been heard. Or we've been heard and we haven't gotten any satisfaction. Now, I brought this today to show you, you know, Mr. LeBlanc, in 1961, that's what I was wearing in 1961. I know, I was a little thinner. That was my outfit for my daddy's shrimp factory, Algiers Canning Company in Algiers. He had the matching one. We used to drive to Venice with feet and buy shrimp and shake the man's hand. Go back, cook them and peel them, sell them to the restaurants, and I'd go back the next night with my dad to pay the man. So it's in my blood. It's not lip service. I promise you, failure is not an option. And I know we've been through this, not this big a meeting, but in the feet, in in Grand Isle, in Clackamas Parish, meeting after meeting. This is a last-ditch effort to save this industry, Senator. And the only way we're going to do it is by scaring the hell out of the people that are eating these imports with reports like this. They're unsafe. And then maybe we can come home and convince our restaurants that they need to identify for a safety reason where those seafood, where that shrimp's coming from. Because we've been unsuccessful at fighting the lobbyists and the powers to be for the right reasons. So now we need to use the health issue. In this letter, Senator, I also asked the President to allow Louisiana shrimpers to come up, and I'll pay for the shrimp, and cook some shrimp at the White House so he can retaste those shrimp that he loved so much when he was down here. But I thank you for being here and for your support and for the congressmen. And if we stick together, this is the way I think we're going to get it done. We use the safety issue because we've tried everything else. And I think the effort of getting the local council governments to band together, then we're speaking with one voice as Louisianans. And it's not just the 2,000 shrimpers in the industry, because they support you, but they got other issues. We need to get it in writing from every council government that we'll be going across Louisiana, and I will be doing it to get every one of them to support our efforts to demand that we inspect this foreign seafood. Thank you, God bless you.
I want to thank all my colleagues. I want to thank you for coming out. I've really learned a lot today. If I could kind of sum up, number one, when I go back to Washington next week, I will continue my efforts of talking to Donald Trump, President Trump. I will talk to Mr. Lighthizer, who is the nation's trade representative. I'll continue to talk to Secretary Wilbur Ross, who is head of our Department of Commerce. One way to solve this problem is through increased tariffs. When a country is cheating, and by cheating I mean illegally subsidizing a product so we can sell it below market, when it's cheating by not properly labeling a product, when it's cheating by trying to send the product to America that's dangerous, that's not fair, that's not free trade, and that's not fair trade. And that's not protectionist. That's being commonsensical. Another option, one of the speakers made an excellent point. One of the problems with tariffs is what they call transshipments. If Indonesia is illegally dumping shrimp and we pop them with a tariff, they just send it to another country that doesn't have a tariff, and the other country sends us, and they just go around the tariff. That's called transshipment. Now, quotas will address that problem, so that's the second possibility. As soon as I'll be going back to Washington's Monday morning, as soon as I can get the bill drafted, which should be in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to introduce Billy's idea of the inspection fee. Some of the shrimp that are coming into the United States are not safe. And they're not being inspected. And they're not safe because they're chock full of antibiotics, which if you eat enough of them, they make your body antibiotic resistant. So when you get sick and get an infection and go to a doctor, antibiotics won't help you anymore. And we need to do a better job of inspecting. I mean, here's the bottom line. I am not here to say, give us a special deal in Louisiana. I'm not here to say I don't believe in competition. My people, my shrimpers, can compete with anybody in the world and win, but they gotta have a level playing field. And we're not cheating. And China and Indonesia and India are. And by God, we're gonna do something to stop it.
What did you hear from the shrimpers regarding the prices that they're getting and their expenses?
Well, they can't, because this foreign product is being illegally dumped on the world market. at below market rates, our people can't compete. I mean, they just can't. After they pay for their note on their boat, after they pay for processing fees, after they pay for gasoline, after they pay for diesel, after they pay for insurance, when the product is being sold at below market rates, they can't make a profit. They're going broke. Now, you may say, well, okay, that's the way the free markets are. This isn't a free market. You've got these other countries like China who are illegally subsidizing the product, which allows our foreign competitors to dump it on the market at below market rates. If they'll just give us a level playing field, we'll compete and win. But this isn't a level playing field, and it's not the way trade is supposed to work.
Are you concerned about the health impact of some of these imported ships?
Yeah, this stuff's dangerous. I mean, you ought to see the conditions that some of this foreign shrimp is produced in. I mean, the water's filthy. The shrimp get sick, and to keep them from getting sick, the foreign countries, the foreign fishermen dump antibiotics in the water. Sometimes they inject the product, and then they sell it in America without being inspected. And if you eat enough of this stuff, I mean, eating one shrimp with antibiotics in it isn't going to kill you, but if you keep eating enough of this stuff, you develop a resistance to antibiotics. So when you get sick, let's say you get an infection, a toothache, and you infect the tooth, and you go to your doctor, and they give you antibiotics, they don't work anymore. I mean, it's dangerous. And there are other chemicals. And the stuff isn't being infected. I can introduce a bill next week to try to address that. Now, the tariffs and the quotas, we've got to first prove that other countries are cheating. That's not going to be hard to do. And then we have got to make it part of the president's trade negotiations.